Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, we'll be talking, rather briefly. This is going to be a very concise video regarding what appears to be a recent incident involving Conor McGregor. Many of you may know he's mixed martial arts, he's world renowned for what he does. There was something that was released recently, I believe, by TMZ Network that what it was, or by TMZ, or whatever you want to call them. Uh, anyway, they had released some footage where it looks like it apparently was Conor McGregor punching an elderly man at some bar. I believe it was in Ireland. Now, if this is true, I mean, obviously his career, his reputation, public image on very strong decline. Transit Pluto is right by his midheaven right now, and that could indicate an obliteration, destruction of one's career. Doesn't mean it won't be revived or resuscitated at some point. Remember that Pluto is also about rebirth and regeneration. So later on, when Pluto goes into really deep later degrees of Capricorn, and it makes its trine to his natal first house, Jupiter and Taurus. Of course, Jupiter and Taurus could be very lucky and fortunate when they attempt to make money and prosper, and when they persevere and when they show persistence. I think when you have when Pluto transit Pluto goes and it makes that later, those very strong later degrees of Capricorn and trines as Jupiter, I think it could be an indicator where his career might be revived at that point in time. But right now it does not look good. And also the fact he's got his Taurus ascendant at the same degree as I have. His ascendant is almost exactly conjunct my ascendant. He also has a Cancer sun. We are Conor McGregor, except for our monetary situation, the fact that he's much more prosperous than me, and he has prospered much more than I am, and his stature of life, of course, is much greater than me. We're very similar in terms of our astrology charts. We both have the North Node in Pisces, both have the Sun in Cancer, both have Taurus rising at the dreaded 22nd degree, which of course, and when we look at 22 degrees, especially the fixed signs being a critical degree, it can, I believe, give much tribulation and adversity in connection with that sign, whether it may be values or sometimes monetary matters, like in my case, maybe with Conor McGregor, perhaps it's what he's valuing. Maybe it's overly obstinate, stubborn behavior over things he doesn't need necessarily to be stubborn about and obdurate about, or what have you. See, the thing about this too, what I want to get at, there's something in his chart that's very notable, I think, for as far as being adversarial toward maybe older people. In some cases, he has a cardinal T. Well, it's not a cardinal T square because two of the planets were cardinal, and then you had some that were mutable. He's got a Saturn-Uranus conjunction that's mutable, but I still consider it a T square. Now, some of you may not consider it one if all the astrological energy is not in the same, if it's not in the same quality, like cardinal, if it's not all cardinal, all mutable, or all fixed. But I say it is still a T square nonetheless. But that's how I perceive it. But anyway, it involves his Mercury in Cancer, which is at 2 degrees like mine as well. His Mercury in Cancer makes an opposition to the Saturn in Sagittarius, and that is squared by the focal point Mars in Aries in his 12th house of imprisonment and self-undoing. Now, the Mercury in Cancer making the opposition to his Saturn in Sagittarius, well, that shows me that he's on opposite, and he really doesn't always maybe communicate well with people that may be older than him, and it could even be older sports fans. Remember that Sagittarius is connected with sports. And the thing about this is that when I look at this as well, you look at the Mars, you see the Mars being in the 12th house, and that's the focal point of this T square. And when you have the focal point of the T square, it often shows that over accentuated point, that overemphasized point in the configuration. And Mars in Aries, of course, and it really can be very volatile, very angry, really resorting to really combative means, physical violence and confrontations to express the anger. And you could do the math given it's in the 12th house of imprisonment, self-undoing, and secret sorrows. It's also intercepted, so it makes it a little bit harder to deal with. It causes a little bit more tension. The fact that something's intercepted, it can cause a little bit more exasperation, even in, especially being Mars, a lot more anger. And it makes it again a lot more difficult for him to deal with. He also has strong Cancerian energy, including the Sun and the Moon in Cancer and Mercury in Cancer, so he's really a lot more sensitive than what he's showing superficially through his very calm, generally speaking anyway, his calm, placid, and passive Taurus rising outer demeanor and facade, which is what I have. So I can kind of relate with Conor McGregor to some degree about this astrological energy right now. And he's got that tough transit again with that Pluto right on. It's very close proximity, very close conjunction to his midheaven, though it is going away. Now at this time as well, he also has transit Chiron and Aries in that 12th house of the imprisonment. He may be, I would not be surprised if the authorities really review this, he might get some jail time. It would not shock me in the least. I mean, this is when you have transit Chiron hitting the 12th house, and being in Aries. Now this could be about some kind of emotional wounds and suffering in connection I mean, it could be in connection with imprisonment in some cases. It could be being an Aries, resorting to anger at inopportune times, which might be tied into some kind of secret sorrows, resorting to combative situations, which could result in incarceration, which could be connected with one's again, their secret sorrows and their self-undoing. And I mean, elaborate on the self-undoing. I mean, sometimes, we deal with overly aggressive, impulsive actions. We can pay repercussions for it. Sometimes impulsive actions may not resort in that. Sometimes they might work out where we have something positive in connection with it. And the thing about Conor McGregor too, it's really going off on a Gemini Moon tangent here, going a little bit away from astrology momentarily. Just the simple fact that when you're at such a high plateau in your career, and it's just going to deteriorate, and just to watch this, I mean, I do feel for this guy. I really hope whatever is going on with him, and assuming this footage is real, like I stated, it was reported that this may very well have been him that had that incident in that bar. It appears like it is him, and all probability is it is. And if it is him, I do hope that he does seek the right help. That's what's needed. And we all make mistakes. There's no infallible person. It's important to really remember this. On a positive note, when I looked at his chart, I really like that Saturn-Uranus conjunction in Sagittarius, and it's not far from that galactic center degree. So it really can indicate why he's might have manifested in very monumental achievement in a sports-related career, where he really put some, being with that Uranus involved in it, that unique stamp, and doing something maybe sports-related that may be somewhat I don't know if it was really unorthodox, but maybe he put a very unique style in what he did, and the fact that he was able to branch off to boxing for a little bit, which made maybe in that sense what he did sports related as far as a career, which is Sagittarius. They said Saturn can often be a career indicator in the chart, and you have the conjunction to Uranus, so you could do the math. It could be something somewhat unconventional that he did, and perhaps by going over to boxing as well is how that manifested. And with him, I can't say enough and reiterate enough times that I really do hope that he gets some kind of assistance he needs, because it seems like he may be a little bit out of control. He's letting his Taurus rising temper get the better of him, and again, that Mars in that 12th, and Aries in the 12th, I think, is a doozy, and being at that focal point of that T-square certainly is not helping matters. And the thing is, you got that, moon, and even though he's got the Taurus ascendant, shows a real impassive, very placid front. Not Taurus rising outwardly, is not generally emotionally exuberant. I mean, I have, as many of you know, again, I have Taurus rising, Gemini moon, but because my sun is in Cancer, I might be hurt more deeply by things than in contrast to somebody that has a Cancer ascendant, who will show more hurt to criticism, ridicule more outwardly. And to me, right now with Conor McGregor, I mean, he has a transit. Saturn is in the 9th house of the law, and it's also that could show taking responsibility for matters pertaining to the law, and it could indicate legal troubles with older people. And he did, assuming that was him, then he punched an older person. So it really, I mean, astrology never ceases to amaze me in its validity, its veracity, and how accurate it is. And you can just look at transits to people's chart and be able to see that very easily. If there's anybody out there that's a skeptic or a cynic of this subject, you can look at some transits and see for yourself. So anyway, people. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my astrological take and analysis on what appears to be an altercation that Conor McGregor is involved in. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be continuing my monthly horoscope segments. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.